Okay, Kai, probier's mal mit Telegram.
Ja, bin dabei.
Okay, auf YouTube
Ich
ist
hab
immer noch
auf
der
Streaming
Code
starten gemacht.
1 Minute 13.
Und man sieht, glaube ich, jetzt im Telegram, oder?
Ja, Videochat sind Leute drin. All right, perfect. So we're still doing testing as we're multi-platform streaming today. You may hear some background music. If you can hear us on Telegram, X, or YouTube, please feel free to just send a message in the chat. Thank you very much. Okay, perfect. Just check Telegram. That seems to work. And we seem to be live on YouTube as well. Perfect. Let's see if Twitter is working, or X. Kai Lucas, do you see anything on X? I think we should be live.
It seems to be also working on Twitter. Looks great.
Perfect. Cool. Then let's listen to this music for a couple more minutes. Let people the possibility to join. Give people the possibility to join. Yes, perfect. It is live. We have 36 listeners on X already. We have 5 on Telegram. And let's see how many we have on YouTube. 6, I think. Cool. It's nice numbers for the beginning. So as always, we're going to wait a couple more minutes. Let's say to 8:02 or something like that. And then we're going to start the April community update, May community update. Oh, nice. And we have a video stream on X. I didn't know that was possible. That's pretty cool. Neat. All right, perfect. So everyone can hear us on any platform. So that is nice. And we even see all those chats here in our management platform. So that's perfect. All right. Then I would say let's stop this nice music, although it is pretty nice indeed. And let's start the community update. So everyone, thank you very much for joining this month's community update. It's May 2024. It's the first multi-platform streaming, so we hope everything's going to go well. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. We see many people on X, we see people on Telegram, and we see people on YouTube. So that's really nice. If you have any questions, any comments, or any questions, feel free to send them in the comments. We should be monitoring all of those, and we will be answering questions at the end. As always, there's going to be the presentation format where we just go over the updates in the beginning, Then there will be the update on the questions that you have asked before, pre-recorded questions, and then we will go into the details regarding the live questions. So if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to post them. All right. And then with this, let's go on to our second slide, which is the What is Onino slide. This time we've redesigned it a little, and we want to graphically show you what Onino is. And I'm going to take over this month and explain you as short as possible what Onino is. So essentially, our idea and our mission is to make blockchain easily accessible for everyone. And how we do that is with free products. The basis is laid by the Onino blockchain, which enables companies to very easily, or projects, not only companies, to use their own blockchains. And either they can use the public Onino blockchain, or they can create their own subchains. And those can be private or public. And we have created a technology that, through an anchoring technology, enables even private blockchains to be as secure as public blockchains, which are subchains on our main Onino chain. Then we have the development aspect, because on one hand, infrastructure is still complex, but development is at least as hard as that, or maybe not at least, but it's hard as well. And we want to make that easier through a combination of every tool that you need for development all in one. So we have a Onino developer platform, how we call it. It includes AI smart contracts, so you can really tell the AI what you would like to have, and it gives you the code. You have extensive template solutions, very easy deployment, APIs, monitoring, analytics, and pretty much everything you could wish for if it comes to development in Web3, all in one platform. So it's a low-code blockchain development platform. And then to get started into the Onino ecosystem, there's the Onino Incubator. And this one helps you and helps companies and projects get started in blockchain and Web3 through, on one hand, tokenization, and on the other hand, fundraising. And all those three together create the Onino ecosystem. So then there's a community shoutout, and I'm just seeing that this is the slide of last month. It should be the Zili. So thank you very much for everyone that has contributed last month, which were Cryptographic and BitFibo on Twitter, and this month's Zili winners, which we can show here this time. I forgot it. Sorry, that's on me. But thank you, everyone, for participating in Zili, and we hope you enjoyed the campaign. So, regarding the updates in this month's community update, we will first talk about the developer platform, then we'll talk about the incubator, blockchain, then we'll talk about the events, a white paper update that's coming up, and then we go into the questions. As I said, pre-recorded questions first and live questions after that. And I would say let's start with the developer platform update.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. So as every month, we'd also like to give you a short update on what is going on behind the scenes of the developer platform. And for that, we can just move to the next slide, please. For all of you who have listened already to the update from last month, there won't be too many news on the developer platform this month, since we are currently in a larger refactoring process, which is still taking some time and is still ongoing. But yeah, for everybody who joined freshly, just a quick roundabout. As I said, currently we're preparing a larger overhaul and update of the platform. This is basically the largest update we have published so far on our developer platform. The reason for that is that we've collected extensive user feedback from the first users, and also in hindsight of all the features that will be coming up. We're currently creating a restructuring of the app, so to say. We will basically change the user flows and the way users can interact with the application. The app will not be structured anymore based on a 4-step process anymore. So before we had users guided through the 4 phases: ideation, development, deployment, and integration. But now, as we are adding new features, our platform will be structured into different features. And yeah, with this, we just want to make the app a lot more accessible, make it a lot more clear, and give a better overview of what can be done in the app. And of course, we also want to reach a broader user base with that, since we are now step-by-step introducing features, which are also helpful for users who already have their deployed smart contracts up and running. And these users don't have to go through the entire blockchain development process anymore. And we also want to provide value for these users. This is basically the reasoning behind this larger update. And also, this update will finally include the Onino Pro plan, which will bring a lot more benefits than the free plan. And I think we also have a question on that later in the question section. There I'm going to go more into detail on what is going to be included in the Onino Pro plan. Yeah, with that, I think we can directly jump to the next topic, which is also for me, which is going to be an update on the Onino Incubator. So yeah, as many of you have heard, our client Kadaiko, our first incubator client, has successfully completed their token pre-sale in the last weeks. In total, they have raised 750K, and out of that, in the last sale round, 500K in only like a few hours. Yeah, this was definitely a great experience for us to work together with our first incubator client. We have taken many learnings from that. We have gotten feedback from both Kadaiko as our direct customer, B2B customer, but also gathered a lot of feedback from all of the end users, like basically the people who participated in the Kadaiko token presale. Yeah, we have gathered many learnings from that. What can be still improved in our token sale platform, which is part of the incubator, and what could be made even better, what could go smoother, what features the users would wish for. We have collected all of that and are now implementing this into our code base of our Onino Incubator's token sale platform. This is currently something that is going on behind the scenes. We're just in the process of implementing all this feedback and yeah, making the app even better than it was before. Also, on the other hand, we have received quite strong interest and quite strong demand from a broad variety of people, founders, corporations, young startups, people who just were about to launch a project. When we were on this whole bunch of events in the last month and weeks, such as, for example, the Paris Blockchain Week. And yeah, basically to match all that demand and to be able to support all that interest that we are receiving. Currently, what we're doing in the background as well, just like a little development insight, is that we, on the one hand, are also expanding the focus on the platform that is not only able to handle token pre-sales, but also able to handle other tokenization projects, such, for example, tokenized bonds, tokenized real estate, other real-world assets. And on the other hand, we are currently in the process of making the app a lot more scalable, which means in that sense that we are streamlining the whole onboarding process. We are in the process of creating an automated framework that allows people to even in the future create their own token sales and tokenization projects completely without the help of us. So we're just in the process of making this whole onboarding fully automated, and thereby we also want to make our app a lot more scalable. And thereby, in the long term, of course, we also want to be able to onboard a lot more interesting projects into the Onino Incubator, help them to raise funds or tokenize their business using our token presale platform, and thereby in the long run also win them as users and builders for the Onino mainnet as soon as it is launched. And yeah, also just as a marketing or sales measure, so to say, make the whole thing more graspable for everybody who could be interested. We'll also soon launch a demo sale platform on our website, where everybody who's interested in making a token pre-sale, making any tokenization project, can just in the live mode explore our token sale platform, how it works, how it looks like, how it feels like. And with that, we want to give everybody who could be interested a lot better picture on how amazing it is to work with our token sale platform. And thereby also, of course, we want to boost the engagement and bring even more people into the Onino Incubator and thereby in the long run on the Onino blockchain. Yeah, and you can definitely stay tuned for that. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, which you can't directly see, so to say, as it is on a technical infrastructure level. And as I said, just making this app more scalable and automated. But yeah, you can definitely get a glimpse and an insight on what has been going on in the last weeks behind the scenes as soon as we have launched our demo sale platform that also you can explore. And we're also already looking forward to your feedback. And yeah, as soon as it's out, definitely share it with all your friends, with everybody you know. Who knows, maybe there might be someone who could be interested in launching your own token project with the Onino Incubator.
All right, as Kai already touched upon, the current 2 months are all about making our offerings, our products, and also the infrastructure we're building with the Onino blockchain ready to scale. And now in this short section in regards to the blockchain update, we want to go into what is our current focus points, and also the how audit, and more especially how an audit looks like for the blockchain protocol. So you have a better insight on what's going on behind the scenes, also from a blockchain developer update. So here you can see the 5 main points we're working on currently. And this is, on one hand, of course, the node client audit. For everyone that does not know it, essentially the node client is what people all over the world will be able to operate, and thus help in securing the network and providing capabilities for running transactions on the network. That audit is a multifaceted process that we will go into in the next slide. But I will first cover the next 4 topics, which is, on the one hand, the subchain testing before we go into the full release of our subchain framework, which involves currently testing of 2 different ways how we approach the whole subchain framework. One is has more to do with a light client for subchains, and the other one is a more full-fledged subchain infrastructure. So I'll just touch upon that briefly because it's still something we are evaluating in the background with the tech team. One of the things we are testing currently is the IPC, which is the Interplanetary Consensus Protocol, to facilitate more lightweight clients that can then run on one much more affordable infrastructure and also run with a much faster processing time when it comes to transactions. And this is currently being evaluated by the team. And depending on the outcomes, we will also integrate that in the stack. So essentially the different options you will be able to choose in terms of subchain frameworks for building on top of the Onino main chain. Then, of course, what we're also working on is the main chain launch. This is directly tied to conducting the full audit and receiving the necessary certifications. We are eager to release a more detailed developer documentation, as at the end of the day, the value of a blockchain always comes from the builders that build meaningful applications on top of it. And there we have prepared more detailed insights, more detailed tutorials, and much deeper information on the one hand, how does the Onino protocol work? How can I build on the Onino protocol? And also, what are the dynamics and incentive mechanisms around the tokenomic design, and also the subchain design that you will be able to build on top of our main chain. And last but not least, the subchain release, which is something we're working towards, which basically means the public availability of our subchain framework. This will be released in stages, as we have multiple different plans on individual features that can be assigned to a subchain, and also multiple different levels in terms of automation when it comes to deployment of a subchain, which will be released at different time points in the future. And now let's get into how an audit of a blockchain protocol works, because we've gotten a lot of questions about when can we give a definite time point for an audit being finished and the main chain actually being released to the public, so that everyone can, on one hand, spin up their validators and users can directly use the main chain and builders can deploy to mainnet. And on the left, you can see like a general vulnerability overview that is made by our trusted partners, Safer Technologies. And how an audit generally goes, they always trying to find vulnerabilities in the core processes for a protocol in our case, or also for smart contracts and whatever DApp you might think of. And it always starts with the preparation of the code base and the documentation, because the partners have to get an understanding of what they are auditing, what are the critical factors, and what are the critical processes that could lead to failure of a certain structure. And after that, there's a definition of scope. And once that is defined, we go into a security assessment and the initial penetration tests. You can think about the tests like the auditing partner trying to break your protocol, or in other words, trying to attack it in a way it would be attacked in a real world environment, and seeing how it behaves, learning from how it behaves, and then providing the different levels of severity if there are any critical issues to be found. And then it basically comes back to us as the team, which means fixing any issues that are found. And this, you can think about it like an ongoing circle until all medium and high vulnerabilities have been fixed and there are none to be found that can lead to critical failure. After that, there's always a reassessment to see if it is really fixed and if there are any risks that are still open. And with the final penetration testing that is basically conducted over 100 different tests that go from a DDoS attack to double spending attacks, and from might be the ones that our audience knows, to much more detail. If all of them were done and conducted successfully, we have reached the final stage, which is the issuance of the audit report and also the issuance of certifications, for example, ISO certifications, and being compliant with HIPAA and such. So as you can see, auditing is quite a complex process, and it always has to do with a lot of initial work. And when there's an issue found, they sometimes are quite easy and not so complex to fix, and sometimes they are more complex when there are multiple different modules in the protocol involved. And you always have to think about how complex the code base for such a node client is and how many lines of code that are there to be reviewed. And this is just for you as our community to get a deeper insight behind the scenes, and we are looking forward to the last two steps that you can see on that slide, which is the issuance of the report and the certifications. And currently, as I already see that question in the chat, which is, in what stage are you of resolving the found issues and retesting, is that we are currently implementing compatibility fixes to the client, and then we will commence with the penetration testing.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Lucas. I think that was it. And let's continue with the events. As you've seen, we have been on kind of an event season the last time. From left to right, we've been in Texas, then we've been in Switzerland, in Germany, and then in France, the Paris Blockchain Week. And it's been a pretty eventful thing for us. And the reasoning behind that was that at the beginning of this year, we planned to really go out there and to position ourselves in as many and relevant as possible conferences that we could do. And we really had the chance to go to very interesting conferences and also be funded and brought there by the state of Baden-Württemberg, for example, for the South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and also supported from our home university for example, St. Gallen. Two great contacts that brought us to the Q Summit in Mannheim in Germany, and also being in Paris as a sponsor. So it was a pretty big thing for us being on all of those conferences. And the goal there was really to connect with the ecosystem, connect with the real world and partners, and to find out where exactly we stand, to define our USPs even better, and the approach of, on one hand, how we sell our products, but on the other hand, even to find out things that we could improve with our products, for example. So this was a very steep learning curve for us, and we had great learnings there. And all of those learnings are currently and will be included in the products that we're launching. And it really helped for partnerships and many more things. So it was very important for us. And you may have seen a little less activity on the socials from our side during that time. But that doesn't mean that we're cooking very interesting things in the background, because we are. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be very interesting, and much more to come in the future. And we will still be joining events, but less from now on. And we're focusing on the most important ones. But there will be a couple events that we will go to regularly in order to have Onino represented there to a broad audience, because we thought that that was very helpful. And if one of you may ever be at one of the events where we are really happy to talk to you. We have been in talks with a couple of community members, also bigger partners and influencers, or KOLs, how they call it sometimes. So it's really been great connecting with you and connecting with new people, and you will see the fruits of our work in due time. On one hand in the products, on the other hand on the partnership side. So also another point is that we are working on a white paper update. Onino has always had the same idea of making blockchain accessible and easy to use, but the approach has shifted a little, or I would say focused, and gotten more and more specific over time. And the white paper now is, I think, a little over a year old now, maybe 1.5 years. So it is time for an update. We're working on that at the moment, making it simpler, making it clear. It will also be a little shorter. And there will be new design because we've been working together with a new designer, and you will be seeing some designs trickle down here and there. So the time is over of Onino design just flowing out of my, Lucas, and Kai's hands. And now working with more professionals. We've had support here and there on specific topics, but now we're having a partner that we'll be working on much deeper, and you will see this first design on the white paper. It's going to come soon. We're not going to say when exactly because the design process will take some time, and that's totally fine. But stay tuned. There will be an update, and you will be first to know as always. And with that, let's jump right into the questions that have been pre-recorded. And this is the first slide regarding the blockchain questions. And I think Lucas is going to take over.
Yes, you're 100% correct. I will, as always, go for everyone that listens to this without seeing them on their screen, and then go right into answering it. And the first question is the mainnet ready to go except for waiting on the audit results, or is it finishing touches and then submitting it for audit? As I touched upon earlier, an audit actually brings up more things to do in terms of finishing touches. We've been in constant communication, and especially in the last few weeks with our auditing partner, and talking about what things have to be implemented before we go into the penetration testing round. And that is what we're currently doing in terms of the node client, implementing compatibility changes and also implementing some or refactoring some parts of the clients to just increase their efficiency and also make it more easily accessible for people that are not so deep into operating or just general writing code and using code in their daily lives, to being able to also operate a validator node at the end of the day. Then the next question is, how many projects are you in talks with that want to start a subchain? No names required, just a number of those interested if possible. It's a good question. Right now, out of my head, I would say we can say that we are in confident talks with 4 company-specific subchains that aim to launch on top of the Onino main chain. These have different use cases. They go from tokenization to general data validation, or also industry-specific use cases. But as always, we tend to only release the public information when everything is set in stone and we can be sure that they will actually launch on top of the Onino main chain. So you can look forward to us announcing each individual project and company working with us in the coming weeks and months. The next and third question is it possible that too many subchains could impact the speed of the main chain? That's a really good question, essentially. To answer it in a full extent, we would have to go deeply into theoretic, but keeping it, they could, if there would be a lot, and I really mean a lot of subchains built on top of our main chain. And the main thing they would impact is the perceived speed, which is essentially the speed that can be seen or can be, or you as a user kind of experience when using the main chain or any subchain, for example, because there is always, like with any blockchain network out there, or I would say most protocols, there's a mempool that is, you could say, kind of gathering all the transactions that are submitted at a node. And if there are really a lot of subchains, you can imagine that this pool is getting filled up more quickly than it can be emptied, which leads to higher waiting times before a transaction is actually final. But that would need, as I said, a lot of subchains, and even with 30 or more running subchains, it should theoretically not impact the speed of the main chain. The fourth question is, does the amount of validators on a subchain impact the main chain at all? And what's the minimum number of validators a subchain could have? So the amount of validators on a subchain does not really directly impact the main chain. Of course, you could say if it is more incentivized to run a subchain validating node, then people could essentially make a decision to turn their backs to validating on the main chain, which lead to an economical imbalance. But that is, well, always question of the design and how viable and sustainable it is. But it generally said it is no real impact, especially in terms of security and finality on the main chain coming from validators on a subchain. And regarding the second part of the question, which is the minimum amount of validators a subchain could have, with the concepts we're trying out currently, which means operating a lightweight client, how we call them, a lightweight subchain client, the minimum can actually be as low as one validator, because the key concept behind those lightweight clients is that they essentially give the burden of performing the consensus on transactions to the main chain, which means that it could, in theory, be run only on one. We do have we give out recommendations to everyone that will be operating a subchain in terms of like a minimum and a maximum threshold. And these, at the start, the maximum threshold will be 16, and the minimum threshold will just be around 80% of the maximum threshold. But at the end of the day, as these are company-specific subchains, we do not make the rules in that regards, as it's a fully permissionless way of building your subchain. So giving the control to the builder at the end of the day, and through the builder to the community. And with that, we go on to the last question of the blockchain question part, which is, can you explain the different validator types you will need for the main chain and subchains to function well? Of course, they're essentially, for the subchain and the main chain, there are two 100% essential nodes for them to function well, which are the validator and the subchain nodes directly. But for making it easily accessible, there always has to be an RPC node, essentially your entry point as a user. These are if you ever added a custom network on MetaMask, for example, you always have to use an RPC URL, which directly connects you to a specific RPC node, and that RPC node is then taking the work of distributing transactions to other nodes in the network. And these make up three different node types: validator, subchain node, and RPC node. And then there's also a critical node, which is not critical in terms of the network could not function without it, but critical in terms of having a fallback mechanism when there ever has to be any, you could say, fork of the network, when there was any attack, or just making the data on the network more accessible, which is the archive node. And you can think about imagine the archive node like a database, essentially, that stores all states and state transitions of the whole network. So essentially something that holds the whole history of the network, and something that can be also indexed when there are applications built on top of the network that need vast amounts of data, because they do not prune the data like other nodes over time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lucas. I will switch and take over the next one. Next category is, as always, basically in every community update, some questions around the token. So the first one we're going to have is, will Onino change the contract address with migration? Kind of, yes. So it's definitely the contract address of our preliminary Oni tokens that we have currently out there in circulation right now, the wrapped tokens, so to say, on BSC and on Ethereum, will of course remain unchanged because they still hold all the token balances. And after the migration, after mainnet is live, the Oni token will not be like a token on Binance Smart Chain or Ethereum anymore, but it will be the native utility token of the network. So basically, the existing contract addresses will all remain the same, but after the mainnet launch, there won't be an address anymore, since Onino will then provide their own native utility token only. Then I think for the next one, I will pass the ball back to Lucas, since he's our expert in everything multi-chain.
Yes, and the next question is directly related to what we recently announced, our partnership with Change, and what possibility it opens up for Onino as a company, but also for everyone in the Onino ecosystem, as we opened the door to be going cross-chain and multi-chain at the end of the day. And the question is, what's the benefit of only being on Binance Smart Chain and the Ethereum chain other than accessibility? Will you go cross-chain to other networks and, for example, newer networks like Casper or Cubic when possible? With implementing any interoperability solution, the main benefit, of course, is always accessibility. As, for example, taking Binance Smart Chain as an example, not everyone is a fan of using the Binance Smart Chain, and there are multiple reasons for that, as not everyone is a fan of using Ethereum, for example, or not everyone is a fan of using Solana. That list could go on forever, I believe. And with the partnership we made with Change, we successfully opened the door to connect to over 55 different networks out there. And the ultimate goal is, of course, to one day be accessible to any user and any supporter that uses whatever network they want. But it always has to be a question of the strategic value behind other integrations, and also it always has to be taken into account how complex is the integration. For example, looking at Casper and Cubic, right now that would not even be possible to integrate it, to launch a wrapped token on these networks. And there we are always monitoring the developments in these ecosystems, also the community base, and seeing also what our community wants to see us in terms of venturing out on different networks. So that is an indefinite yes, but the timeline can be quite long in terms of going on to new networks.
Thank you very much, Lucas. I will take back the ball for the next question, which is, what is going to be the utility for the Onino token for users and for companies? Great question. That's always like one of the most important questions one should consider when launching a token. What is the actual utility? What can you do with the token? And yeah, basically, we can just dive into a few aspects. So first of all, totally generally speaking, every user-facing future blockchain-based application that will be built in the mainnet will require their users to have Oni tokens to use that application, simply to pay gas fees, just like it is with ETH on Ethereum, for example. So yeah, every application that will be built on your mainnet, be it a DeFi application, NFTs, be it a digital identity solution, be it a document verification solution, all of these applications that will be launched on the future mainnet will definitely require Oni tokens, or to put it the other way around, you will be able to use all of these when holding the Oni token. On the other hand, on a more technical side of things or more business side of things, mainnet validators, of course, who want to participate in validating and supporting the network and thereby earning rewards, will also have to acquire and hold a certain amount of Oni tokens to run their node. This will also, and then accordingly apply basically to companies who want to deploy a subchain. They will also have to deposit a certain amount of Oni tokens as, so to say, a subchain deposit or collateral, you could say. And additionally, for another example for you is that in the future, we are also planning to integrate a new feature that companies can sponsor the fees on their subchain for the users, which is of course quite nice, especially in a rather Web2 context, I would say, a rather traditional context, but not every end user is having their own wallet, their own tokens. And for this sponsoring, so to say, companies will also then, of course, have to provide Oni tokens on a regular recurring basis, or to put it the other way around, they can just use the Oni tokens, so to say, to pay, in quotes, their subchain and pay for the fees of their users, which are going to be using the subchain. I hope this answered the question to your satisfaction. If there's more detailed questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And with that, I would just move on to the last chapter of our pre-submitted questions, which is on the Onino developer platform. And the question we got here is only one this time, is can you give some examples of pro features for the Onino developer platform, and will there be any benefit in the developer platform for those holding Oni? Very good question, already teased it a bit before. So let's just go a bit through the Onino Pro plan features that are upcoming. Of course, we'll inform you about everything around that in a detailed blog post soon. But right now, a little teaser here for you. So first of all, the largest aspect will be the deployment on all mainnets, or basically a broad variety of EVM mainnets, so that everybody can directly bring their applications that they've been testing and developing on a testbed into production with only a few clicks, and can also monitor them there and integrate their mainnet applications via the API. Secondly, we'll also have or offer production-grade usage limits for the smart contract API. That is, so to say, like the common sense in the most of all of the developer platforms and dev tools out there. APIs usually always offer a free contingent of API credits that you can just use to test and integrate and see if the API is working well with your application. Then when you move into production, and you will probably generate a high load of API calls, then basically this will be included in a so-called Pro plan. And this is just a general pattern that we will be also following for the Onino platform. So production-grade usage limits for the Onino Smart Contract API will be another feature in the Pro plan. Similar to that, also higher usage limits for all of our different AI features, for the brainstorming assistant, for the code generator AI, and also for the integration AI. Users will be able to have a lot more conversations with them and use these AIs a lot more extensively than the free users. And also in the future, the Pro plan will include collaboration functionality, so that, for example, entire teams can work together on entire projects. And also the Pro plan in the future will give access to more exclusive features that we have planned for the next month, such as, for example, automated security audits, which we will be offering in a joint partnership with one of our security partners. Also great question regarding the Oni tokens within the platform. So we definitely have some plans for that yet, and this is something we are still figuring out. Also building this with our users, how we could best integrate that. There's obviously yet some plans and some ideas going on behind the scenes on how we could handle this, how we could integrate the Oni token into the platform. But this would definitely be not something that will be released in the next update. This will rather be a matter of one of the following updates. And also, Jared, just the call out. If you have any great ideas, for example, or you would like to see any way that the Oni token is used in the Onino developer platform, then just hit up the feedback button and directly in the app and just let us know. Or also send us a DM via Telegram. We're always happy to get our users' input and get our users' ideas and see if we could implement your wishes into our products, of course. And I think with that, we've got all the pre-asked questions covered.
All right, yes, we do. And there was one little thing we forgot. So let's restart the slideshow to update in the background. Because we have a pretty nice update, we have been chosen as the foundation of the month, startup of the month, by our home university, the KIT, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology. And this is a pretty cool achievement for us. Of course, 2.5 years after founding Onino, but it's really nice that the local university is now even getting the attention and seeing that Onino is there. And it's really great. We have had a very interesting podcast there. It's in German. So for every German listener, there is the link on the right side. I'll make sure to post them in the chat. And feel free to just visit those links and read the short article. Give the podcast a listen if you want to. And it would be great to see you all there and give you the possibility to listen a little into what Onino has been doing. And yeah, that was pretty cool. A little recap of the Onino story by and with the KIT, our home university. And with that, I would say let's jump right into the live questions. If you have any questions, either on X, on YouTube, or on Telegram, feel free to just put them in the chat, and we will do our best to answer those questions. And we see we are nearing 1,000 listeners live on X, which is pretty cool because I just saw that Starlink had a live as well, and I think they only had 2,500 followers or listeners. So nice. We're almost, we're not far off. They're only 1.5 times better than we are. All right, I see many people typing in Telegram already. And let's try to monitor X and YouTube as well. Okay, Kai Lucas, do you see any questions anywhere?
Yes, there's a long one in Telegram. There is a bull market on the horizon. Does Onino take into account the market condition and plan development based on the likely cyclicality, valuation, and dominance of Bitcoin? Simply put, that question could also be, is Onino trying to expand at a pace that guarantees it won't miss the coming bull market? Well, out of regulatory reasons, I will not go into detail on the cyclicality. But what we are looking at is the potential customer base that we can attract to our products. And the overall general attention always goes up and down depending on cycles, of course. So this is definitely something we are looking into in terms of how good can we scale, which we touched upon it already earlier in this community update. The current 2 months in this quarter, the last 2 months are all about getting our products ready to scale automatically alongside its demand. So that should answer your question.
Yeah, then we also got one from Yuki. I love the features of the platform, but is there any benefit to Onino holders from the platform since it's not specific for the Onino chain? Yeah, I've shortly touched on this before during the pre-submitted questions. Definitely, this is something we have on the agenda. Also, like to give you a little insight. Of course, the developer platform should be open for everyone and should facilitate blockchain development in general. But we are definitely planning to integrate some features in the future that, simply put, incentivize also building on the Onino blockchain, which will also then maybe involve the Oni token. And yeah, as I said before, we're also planning to integrate any more features that will basically allow everybody to also utilize their Onino tokens directly in the platform. But yeah, this is nothing we want to announce yet. This is still in the process of planning. It will be part of one of the later updates a few months down the road from now on.
All right, and we have Malepo saying, brilliant stream, thanks for the update. Thank you very much as well. Then we have another question on X, which is how many members from the team? So it really depends how you look at it. We are 3 founders, then we have 1 full-time developer, and then we have additionally a developer that is helping us part-time, and we have a couple developers on a freelance basis, as well as designers and help from marketing and sales. So the core, if you say really full-time engaged team, is a little smaller, but this is very specifically chosen as we didn't want to grow too quickly and unhealthily. And the extended team is very on demand. So what we're laying the focus on at the moment, what we have paying projects for, what is the next step on the roadmap, those are the things that we focus on regarding hiring. And we try to keep the team as lean as possible. But of course, it will be growing. And now we're nearing a phase where all the products we have are getting more and more specific and more tailored to a specific market need. And thus also are selling easier and easier. And therefore, we're going to hire more people, also full-time on those projects. So you will see the Onino team grow. But I think with the size that we have still achieved pretty impressive things and are looking forward to do even more so in the future. And a little thank you for the hard work. Thank you very much as well. So I don't see any more new questions, but let's wait around a couple minutes if you have anything else. Let's. Okay, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. You can ask everything you would like to know. Okay. Oh, someone's typing. So let's wait a couple seconds. We have a funny question on Telegram. How many OnlyFans tokens will you buy at mainnet launch? This is something I can't answer, but OnlyFans has been something that many have been waiting to launch. So we will be monitoring it closely. Let's see who's going to be the first one. Okay. So I don't see any more questions. I think we can end it here. We have well over 1,100 listeners and viewers on X and all the other platforms combined. So really great success, really happy to see that the multi-platform live streaming has been going well. Feel free to share all the feedback you have with us in any form you would like to. And what we're going to say is thank you very much for joining and see you next month.
Thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful evening.